Hello, friends. My name is Dr. Jyoti Doley. I am an associate professor of English of School of Applied Science and Humanities, Haldia Institute of Technology. Friends, today I'm going to deliver a lecture on the theories of communication. The objectives of my presentation are to understand the concept of communication, the theories of communication, especially the linear model of communication, the interactive model of communication, and the transactional model of communication. Before we begin, let us understand what is communication. Communication is a process of exchanging ideas, information, thoughts, and feelings between individuals or groups through various channels. It is the main thread that binds our society together. We cannot live without communicating with one another. The entire communication process comprises a sender, message, context, receiver, channel, and a feedback. A sender refers to a person or a group who initiates the message or the communication process. Message here refers to the information, idea, or thought that is being shared or communicated. Context refers to the situation or the circumstances in which the communication takes place. Receiver here refers to the people or the person for whom the message is intended. Channel refers to the medium through which messages are transmitted. It could be through the verbal medium, written medium, or a digital medium. Last but not the least is the feedback, that is the response of the receiver that indicates whether the message was understood or not. We need to communicate in order to facilitate understanding and collaboration among the people with whom we work and the people with whom we live our life or share our lives with. It helps us in building and maintaining relationships, and it is also essential for effective decision making and problem solving. If we do not share, we lose out on a lot of opportunities like building better relationships, having good decision making, coming to a good decisions, and also uh, uh, and also creating or nurturing healthy team members. Let us first discuss the first model of communication, that is the linear model of communication. This model emphasizes that communication is a one-way process. This model was introduced by Claude Shannon and Warren Weaver in 1948. It is also popularly known as Shannon and Weaver model. The key components of this model are sender, message, receiver, channel, and noise. Here we have to notice one thing, that is noise. The sender sends the message, the receiver receives it through a particular channel, and they have also identified the disturbances. Noise here refers to the disturbances. What are the disturbances? It could be physical noise, it could be psychological noise, it could be technological noise. The next model of communication is the interactive model of communication, which is also known as two-way process of communication. This model was introduced by Wilbur Schramm, and it is also known as Osgood-Schramm model of communication that was introduced in 1954. The components of this model of communication are feedback, context, and noise. Friends, as we can see here, that in the interactive model of communication, the encoder, which is the sender of the message, it also takes the uh, position of a decoder, that is the receiver of the message. Let me explain how it happens. Supposing a sender sends a message to someone and the receiver receives that message. The receiver understands that message, interprets it, and then formulates an apt answer to that message or response to that message, and then sends it back through a channel. Now, the first person A who sent the message, now that person is waiting for a response. So when the person receives that response, the sender also becomes an encoder. So it is an interactive model. So for example, like if I meet someone and say, hello, how are you? I get an answer, oh, I'm fine. Thank you. How have you been? Oh, I've been busy for quite some days. Now what happens? There is an interaction. I, as an encoder, I sent a message, hello, how are you? The receiver received the message and responded to my message saying, I'm fine. How have you been? So the response that I receive, how have you been? I receive it. Now I change my position from being an encoder to a decoder. And then again, I send the same message. Oh, I've been busy for quite some time. Now this exchange is described in interactive model of communication, because here both the participants, that is the encoder and the decoder, both are actively participating in this process of communication. Here, the theorists have found out a very important component of the communication process, that is the context, which means the situation in which the communication has taken place. So, for example, like if I say that, hey, how have you been? Now, the meaning of how have you been depends largely on the situation. It could be that I know the intended receiver must have undergone some troubled days. And when I ask the question, how have you been? The receiver will understand that I'm hinting at that person's bad days and whether he has been able to recover and how far he has been able to recover from those bad days. So, based on this, the person will answer or formulate a response to my query, how have you been? Right. So here context plays a very important role. This theorist, Osgood and Schramm model, they have identified one very important, significant part of communication, that is context or the situation. The last but not the least of the theory of communication is transactional model of communication. The transactional model of communication emphasizes upon the dynamic characteristic of the communication process. This model was introduced by Dean Berlan in 1970. It emphasizes upon the interpersonal communication process that occurs when people converse, when people communicate. It is dynamic, continuous, circular, and very complex. Now, in the transactional model of communication process, the sender, who is an encoder now, is also a decoder or a receiver of the message. It sends the message amidst noises, and the receiver receives while filtering the unnecessary noises and getting what the crux of the message is about, interprets it based on the context, the relationship, and then the history that both of these people are aware of. Based on that, the receiver formulates a response and sends it back to the sender of the message. And it is not a repetitive way. It continues. So, for example, like when we talk, do we just talk about a particular topic and end our conversation? We don't, right? When we begin a conversation, even if we have to send a message, then we also sometimes in our casual conversation, we do talk, we do cover so many different topics, including the main intended topic as well. So this is how transactional model talks about. It involves the people, right? It creates a sense of belongingness. It creates a sense of shared value system. And the more shared value we have, the more, uh, warm or the more interesting the communication will become. So this is all about the three important models of communication that I have discussed today. I hope this will help you in understanding the very intricate and a complex process of communication. It gives you a fair idea of what how communication process works. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you very much.